What if the most dangerous decisions in our world are not made out of cruelty, but out of distance? Distance from the truth, distance from the lived reality. I want to tell you a story about a girl named Aisha. She was as young as 7, and every morning, without failure, she would wake before her mother, fold her prayer mat, and pack her school bag with the kind of seriousness that only children who believe that school is a privilege can manage. Her favorite subject was math, not because she was naturally gifted. She would tell you herself that numbers made her head hot, like they do to everybody. But it was because her teacher, Malam Garba, will always tell her that the women who can change the world are the ones who can count what the world is losing. She didn't really fully understand what he meant, but she decided she was going to learn how to count anyway. And on a normal Monday morning, the men came. They came with guns, they came with fire, and with an ideology that had decided long before Aisha was born that a girl holding a pencil was a political threat. Their school was burned down, their communities raided, their parents killed, their teachers murdered. Aisha, Malam Garba, and her peers were all abducted. But then, amidst all the crisis, miraculously, Aisha managed to run. She ran for hours after she finally hid in a field. But unfortunately, she was destined to be found. When Aisha was found, God in His infinite mercy, she had not screamed, she had not cried, she had done the only thing that made sense to her small, brilliant mind. She had been counting. Counting the number of men, the direction they came from, the roads they took when they left. A 7-year-old girl in a field at such a horror situation, conducting a threat assessment. Now let me stop here, because as I stand on this stage today, somewhere around the world, vulnerable children are in captivity. Right now, somewhere, parents are gathered outside a gate where their children were this morning and are not anymore. Right now, someone is holding a photo of a child with a sign that says, "Bring them back." Right now, the world is watching the news and feeling that particular helpless horror we feel when the victims are small, the perpetrators are certain, but the solutions are nowhere to be found. These are not just one story. These are different stories told in different time zones in different languages. But believe me, these stories are not new to us. What is new is how comfortable we have become with it. The world has failed its children. We all have failed our children. We have seen it countless of times. We have watched it in Gaza, where children are pulled from rubble with their school bags still on their backs. We have watched it in Sudan. Hunger devours children faster than bullets. Go to the DRC. Tiny hands mine cobalt for the devices you hold in your hands. Their childhood exchanged for the convenience of your technology. In Afghanistan, the education of girls have become a crime. Go to the shores of Mediterranean, you would see bodies of children wash up, refugees of war they fled but could not escape. And we have watched it again and again here in Nigeria. Children abducted from their schools in broad daylight, while we pay attention for as long as it takes to scroll past. Believe me, we have made peace with things that should keep us up at night. We are not monsters. We are something far dangerous than monsters. We are people who feel the right things, but still do nothing. And what pains me the most is even with this ongoing crisis, our voices, our experiences are still fragile. Instead of people seeing us as architectures of our own crisis, we are being treated as problems to be solved. And this is the reason I'm here to tell you that this assumption will not only make our solutions to fail, but it is an unjust crime we have been committing. Ibrahim Zanna Sunoma is my name, and I was 9 when I understood that I was subject of other people's conversations. Where I was born, like many of the places I have named earlier, a child was not supposed to be seen, and certainly a child was not supposed to be heard. Not by the men with guns, not by the government, not in the policy rooms being held in buildings we had never entered. We are being used as photograph on a donor slide. We are being used as statistics on a report by people who never once asked us how the solutions should feel like. And this assumption that children are victims to be rescued, not experts of our own crisis, is the reason why our solutions keep failing. Let me take you back to the story of Aisha. I want to tell you something that happened simultaneously to Aisha's Tuesday. 3,000 kilometers away, in a room full of the world's most credentialed humanitarian experts, world leaders, government officials, finalizing a framework that was meant to protect children like Aisha. Months of work, satellite data, peer-reviewed research, interviews with officials, NGOs, but not one of them had asked a single child. Not one of them had asked, what do the men look like? Which families fled? Which teachers were threatened weeks before the attack and could not say anything out of fear? That information existed. It existed in the experiences and bodies of children in war zones across our world. And finally, when the framework was adopted, the implementation failed. Of course it failed. Because you cannot solve a problem you have refused to fully listen to. And that is why I believe that anything for us without us is not truly for us. But I will tell you one better. Anything for us without us will never work. And if I want you to leave this room with one ask, I will ask you to not neglect your responsibilities. We have all perfected our speeches, we have perfected our businesses, but we have neglected our moral responsibility. Allow me to borrow the words of Kofi Annan. He says there is no trust more sacred than the one we hold with our children. So all of us have roles to play. Allow me to also borrow the words of Johann Wolfgang. He says, let everyone sweep in front of his own door and the world will be clean again. So I ask you, the next time you are in a room where a decision is being made about a child, be the one to ask, is a child present in this room? Not a photograph of one, not one on statistics, but an actual child being actually represented and being actually heard. Because believe me, if we ignore us, if we ignore the voices of our children, we'll end up being the Pennsylvania monsters that will haunt all of you tomorrow. So I ask you to make spaces, to create spaces for young people in your own world. History will not remember the people who studied our pain in a comfortable distance. History will only remember the people who finally let us into the room. And now the big question is, what side of that history are you willing to be on? Thank you.